Episode 4, The Cursed Village. The morning at the agency began with an important announcement, while the employees had to gather in the living room as soon as possible. David had brought the message from the boss along with a cup of coffee and a sandwich. The boss himself isn't even here yet. It was extremely unusual to see almost all the mansion's inhabitants in one place. The others each picked their own corners of the room and were in no hurry to start a conversation. Are they afraid to say too much in front of me? Audrey stole a glance at David, who was standing by the piano, and saw that he was watching her quite openly. I wish you'd sit next to me, then. Audrey glanced at Cassiel, who was seated on the other end of the sofa. Disgruntled as usual. Feeling her gaze on him, he turned his head sharply and stared at her questioningly. So what if I'm looking at you? The deafening silence was broken by a rude voice. David? What, my dear friend? Did he really call our evaluator? Come on, Cassiel, I know you remember my name. If we hold another meeting without the dear little witch, she will surely break her neck. What do you mean? Exactly what I said, Cassiel. Fortunately, the embarrassing subject was cut short when Mikhail finally entered the living room. Felonia rushed in after him, stopping beside him like his trusty right hand. Everyone is here? Good. David didn't move from his place and just sat on a stool next to the piano. Raphael took a seat on the sofa. Then let's begin. Standing in the middle of the room, Mikhail looked around at everyone present with a heavy gaze. As you all already know, there was a murder at Charlotte's club yesterday. And we believe that this is not the work of a single killer, but a group of people. His cold voice softened a little. Audrey, unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to come and see you earlier. I'm sure this event has shocked you. Confused by the boss's attention on her, Audrey shook her head. I'm fine, thanks. He was in no hurry to look away, as if to make sure that she was really fine. Glad to hear it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. You have a lot to catch up on. Wow, all I had to do was jump out the window once, and now here we are, all the answers. What should I ask? This isn't their first murder. How is the murder related to our work? What is the killer's goal? I have no more questions. If we can answer all three, or ask. Correct. Each one has a distinctive feature, a mark that the killers leave on the corpses. And you're certain that there are multiple killers? More than certain. We were even able to catch them at the scene of the crime several times. But they're much more willing to go straight to hell than to prison. And our valiant police are unable to stop these guys from killing themselves on the way to the station. You can join the force and show everyone how you'd do better. Enough. Is that all, Audrey? You can ask all those questions, okay. Is it related to our work? You mean what is the mystical component to it? Yes. We don't know for sure. That is what we have to find out, with your help. But you know what the symbol means, right? Yes. It is a sign of true evil. And the people who leave it behind likely believe themselves to be a part of it. You would think that just killing someone alone would be enough to become evil incarnate. I would like to know if these people are just mentally ill, or if they really have some connection to that evil. What is the killer's goal? There didn't seem to be any connection between the victims. There is one. The first murders we know of happened about 30 years ago. Back then, they were more spontaneous in nature. For example, even random witnesses were attacked. Why haven't I heard anything about this? It went on for about a year. Things are different now. Do serial killers change their preferences? Their goal has changed, and we must find out what happened 30 years ago. I have no more questions. Okay, then let's hear what Felonia has to tell us. Audrey was grateful for the chance to show that she was an important part of the team, but she had the feeling that everything she heard had been carefully curated. I'm sure you've already heard everything Fel has to say. The victim is the daughter of the owner of the Bioinfinity startup. The man convinced people that death was just a disease and curable one at that. I've never heard of this. And you won't. His activities were shut down 20 years ago, and he was imprisoned. The only real business they did was get investors to part with their money. And this businessman was recently released. Yes, how did you know that? Emma said that she and her sister needed to go back home to their parents. Anyway, if it wasn't for the symbol, I wouldn't have thought that this was a case of revenge. It's hard to even imagine how many people out there want him or his loved ones dead. But the mark is there, which means that's not the case. Or maybe there's more to it. Audrey remembered the box of photos. The file included a photo of a dead body found in a restaurant. According to the records, the murder was recent. There's a second victim too, right? There are 3 victims so far. The second was an ordinary student. Neither he nor his family had any enemies. The first was an orphan. He was just had left the orphanage. Yeah, it's hard to draw any connections. Maybe there's no connection after all. Maybe we shouldn't look for connections in the victims themselves. The victims knew each other. They were all in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm gonna think about this one for a second. Alright, so the looking for connections, or shouldn't, and the wrong place, wrong time, when essentially one and the same. I'm gonna try and go with victims knew each other. We've already established they didn't, so maybe it's about their environments. Try to find the parents of the guy from the orphanage. You have the right idea, but we found the information about his mother. She was an ordinary worker, and she died of AIDS not long ago. The killer obviously knows what they want. The girl resisted. She did not go into the private room willingly. All of her nails were broken. We found scratches on the floor, even on the door. And yet no one heard or saw anything? Wow. But the DNA tests give us nothing. We don't have the killer in our database. Okay, Raphael, did you manage to learn anything? I'm afraid not. There are no traces on the pendant. But the Grandma Claudia took the silver half of the heart from Raphael and stuffed it into her transparent evidence bag. If there are no more questions, I suggest we get back to work. You will have to visit the village of Silent Grove. It's very small, remote, and religious. David stood up and headed for the exit. Well, without me, I need to go to the court to extract compensation from the realtor and the greedy wife. Fel will go in your stead. Why? To avoid conflict with the locals. I think the sight of a police car will make them friendlier. The woman's face reflected a whole range of negative emotions. Even David stopped in his tracks, curious to see what exactly this would turn into. She obviously is having a hard time with this. Don't you think I've done enough already? It will never be enough, Fel. Only constant effort can attract his attention and make him believe that you deserve another chance. A chance, Phil, not forgiveness. You're so harsh, Mikkel. And you are so carefree. Audrey felt the air around her heat up. But Mikkel did not seem to notice the change and continued in the same cold, impartial manner. Supposedly, there are fanatics living in Silent Grove. Our client claims that she is in danger. This is the perfect opportunity for us to find out who it is they worship. And to help the woman. Of course. And to help the woman. The residents think she is a witch who was cursed their lands. I'll have to stop by the station. Phil managed to pull herself together and spoke in an even and calm voice. Do you have anything to change into? Is she talking to me? Audrey didn't expect to be addressed and was at a loss for words. Our little witch only wears formal suits. No, and revealing dresses. If she wears those fanatics will immediately tie her to a stake. Come on, let's find you something suitable to wear. And to defend yourself with. Just don't be late. Without answering, Phil walked to the exit. Audrey, in the village, stay close to Cassiel. Try not to get separated from the group. We don't know what the locals are capable of, so be careful. The concern are standard fairly well around here. I'll be careful. At the door, David caught up to her. And don't admit to anyone in the village that you're a witch, either. I'd have to burn down the whole village if you get captured. And then he gently touched her hand with his fingers as he whispered, I will think of you in court and miss you terribly. Make sure you don't lose. Grinning, David was the first to step out into the corridor. On impulse, Audrey turned around. Cassiel cast a strange glance at the hand that David had just touched. As if fighting some emotion, he clenched his jaw and turned to the window. Did he notice? For some reason, goosebumps ran across her skin. Audrey hurried after Phil. I hope I don't irritate her as much as the guys do. The police station. Phil was lost in thought the whole way. What's eating away at her? She looks like a wild animal backed into a corner. Phil had her own office, a high rank, judging by the awestruck faces of the police officers. So young and already a boss. I wonder how that happened. After rummaging through the desk drawers and taking out some papers, Phil approached a wide metal cabinet. Choose what you like best. I need to clock in. You can change your clothes here, don't worry. No one will come in. As soon as Phil closed the door, Audrey obediently started picking out clothes. I don't want to be burned at the stake today. Something like a police uniform could come in handy. A simple uniform. I like it. Striped shirt with suspenders, undercover, true detective. Get everything! I kind of like the undercover one versus true detective. Continue. I still have time to style my hair before Felonia gets back. Jacket, haircut. I won't lie, I'm not a fan of all these. I actually would like to keep our hair we already have, but I'll go with jacket cut, why not? Now I'm more likely to be mistaken for a witch hunter than a witch. 1 second. Yeah, I changed my hair back. Don't at me. Not sure what to do now that she was done. She glanced around. On the other wall behind the chair were photographs of people shaking Fell's hand, representing her with awards. Rescuing hostages, apprehending dealers, murderers. This woman is a real hero. Why does she keep all these clippings behind her back? Like she doesn't want to see them. Or like they don't mean anything to her. In each photograph, Fell had the same expression, the face of a person fed up with life. Are you ready? Startled, Audrey quickly turned around. Oh, yeah, ready. Audrey's curiosity about the photos did not escape Fell's sharp eyes. Impressive. It's nothing to be proud of. I've done far more bad things in my life than good. Obviously not wanting to continue the subject, she came very close to Audrey, leaned her hand against the table right next to her without even pausing. As for your defense, can you shoot? Can you really give a civilian a weapon? Only if you know how to use it. Won't blow your leg off as soon as you pick it up. I've never even been to the shooting range. I see. Fell gracefully reached across the table and pulled something small out of the drawer. In that case, here you go. Pepper spray. Would have liked the choice to at least have a bang-bang, but no. Thank you. You're welcome. You can use it on one of the agency, if one of the agency guys bothers you. You really don't get along with them, do you? Do you want to talk about that? The question sounded like a challenge. It seemed like Fell didn't want to talk about it, but her pride wouldn't let her do it just like that. She seems awfully lonely. Let's talk about it. Oh no, we're going to talk about it. She's pretty. It's a weird place to put the dot. It was difficult to believe that Fell was going to pour her heart out, but she actually seemed quite eager to do so. I don't work with them on my own free will. I'm forced to. They don't look like villains. Villains. Of course they're not villains, but they're not exactly heroes either. They have a mission, and will go to the lengths necessary to complete it. You mean solving those murders? You could say that. And they easily will discard you, and just as easily as they would me, if either of us gets in their way. And you're not like them? No. I'm far worse. Are you going to ask me anything else? Are you ready to go? Who knows when we'll be able to talk like this again. Oh, we have questions. Really expensive ones. Suggest that you should stick together. Ask her to teach you how to use a gun. Yeah, why not? Oh, you're actually going to give it to me. Okay. Yay, it's better than pepper spray. I never thought I'd ask someone this, but since the opportunity has presented itself... Do you want to learn how to shoot? Pepper spray is good, no doubt, but it would be nice if I could find it in me to pull the trigger if it ever came to it. A commendable desire. Unfortunately, we don't have the time for a proper lesson, but I can teach you a few things. Fell took her pistol out of its holster, casually flipped it over and handed it to Audrey. Audrey took it carefully by the handle, then almost dropped it. The small weapon proved to be unexpectedly heavy. Hold it with both hands. Ooh. Except it's not the outfit we're wearing. Smoothly like a cat, Fell walked behind Audrey. Covering Audrey's hands with hers, Fell pressed her chest against Audrey's back. If you have to point a gun at someone, do it confidently. For some reason, the unexpected closeness made Audrey's knees weak. She closed her eyes and breathed in the pleasant scent of the policewoman's skin. The Fail's fingers were gentle, but there was strength in them as well. She looks so small, but in her arms I feel terribly fragile. Don't tremble. Don't hesitate, she whispered next to Audrey's ear. Fail's fingers squeezed tighter, helping to raise the evaluator's outstretched arms higher. Perhaps the officer's confidence was transmitted through her breath where it tickled at her skin. Because the trembling faded until only the slight euphoria of feeling one's own strength remained, Audrey imagined that the source of all of her problems was right in front of her. Who would it be? My patient, pastor, my parents, church? Unexpectedly, Audrey smiled. Well done. Audrey didn't see it, but she fell smiling back at her. You catch on quickly. Her thumb slid over Audrey's skin, guiding her thumb to just above the trigger. Audrey felt a small lever. This is the safety. You'll need to release it if you want to shoot. Fail pressed it until there was an audible click, and then moved even closer. Audrey felt the woman's chest press against her back, heaving slowly and steadily. And most importantly, don't be afraid to pull the trigger if you're in danger. Okay? Fail carefully released her hands from the pistol and pulled away, taking the pleasant warmth and inexplicable confidence with her. A couple more lessons like this and you'll be able to blow anyone's brains out. What a great way to put it. That's reassuring. You can spend more time with Fel. Who knows when we'll be able to talk like this again. Suggest that you two should stick together. Since fate brought us together at Astrea, why don't we become a team? No matter where you work, it's always reassuring to know that someone has your back. She didn't respond immediately. She seemed to be considering how she could benefit from having a new colleague. I won't lie. The fact that you live in the same house as them would work in my favor. You hear and see things that I cannot find out myself. I'm offering friendship, not dubious favors. I'm not asking you to be my little spy. I'm asking that I'll be your ally. A friend who will always come to your aid. Anytime, no questions asked. It sounded good. Too good, even, so it was hard not to ask for clarification. And in return? In return, I ask that you be honest with me. Audrey glanced down at the wall behind Fel. No matter how this woman spoke of herself, the photographs spoke volumes more. To refuse the good graces of a person who had saved so many lives would be nothing short of stupid. Please don't play games with me. So much bitterness in her voice. Doesn't she deserve to be treated right? Ha 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 ha. Yeah, no. People who do good by others are not always treated right. I think we can be friends. Who knows when we'll be able to talk about it like this again. Okay. On to the third and final choice. Ask about her work with the police. I can see that your career took off very fast. Do I look young for someone with her own office? Too young? And there's your proof that I walk over people. I don't think you pushed anyone aside. Maybe I'm sleeping with one of my bosses. No, that's not it either. Your colleagues look at you with respect. I'm assuming that's because of a very successful case. One that launched your career. Audrey slid her gaze over the wall again. All these cases were worthy of newspaper headline, but this job position? Hardly. It's not on the wall. Very mysterious. Let's just say that when I need something, I can be very persuasive. So you just persuaded them to give you this post. I'm not buying it. I helped a very influential person, saved his careless son from bad company, got my hands dirty, and got this office as thanks. I earned the respect of my colleagues after the fact, and it took me a while to do. I see. Expected to hear something more heroic? No, I'm perfectly fine with the truth. Your relationship with Fell has improved, even though the other two didn't, but okay. And that's it. End conversation. After spending 130 diamonds. Sadness. I think I'm ready to go. Then let's head out. We'll pick up our colleagues on the way and get this over as quickly as possible. Silent Grove. The trip to the village took almost the entire day. The highway quickly turned into a bumpy path surrounded by dense forest. Branches kept scraping the roof, pressing from both sides. It seemed as if the trees were trying to push the guests back in every way possible with their long, crooked fingers. You think we'd be thrilled to be here? It's a pretty nice place. The village really did look great, but the atmosphere was oppressive. The streets greeted them with a suspicious silence. It seemed like the locals hid in their houses when they saw the car coming. The building over there looks like a cafe or a store, or whatever it is they have here. Let's go find out. You go. I'll look around. Now, split up, the group moved forward, but they had barely made it to the door when the owner of the house came out to meet them. He was holding an impressive rifle. Who are you? Put the gun away. I'll ask again. Who are you? You ask that one more time, and we'll have to get pretty acquainted at the police station. We'll go as soon as we grab your permit. I wonder if Mikkel knows how persuasive these two are. If we leave, things will get worse for you. You need our help, not the other way around. Just how can you help me? If they believe in witches, their problems must be pretty stereotypical. For example, we could solve issues of poor harvest and livestock morality. So that's why you came? Are you gonna put the witch in prison? That won't help. And what will? Burning her? No one is accusing you of anything. Let's just help each other. Path of high reputation. I'll tell you this. You can't help the village. We've managed this before. We will manage it again. I don't think anyone will be worse off if we try. Stubborn, eh? Alright. Look at my face. Look at gray I am. Look at gray I am. Okay. This filth sucks the life right out of us. Steals our children. Steals children? He's talking about stillborns. Ariel approached the man, and the man's eyes filled with tears. But how did you... I went to the cemetery. I'm sorry you all had to deal with this. My condolences. The revelation seemed to snap all that was left of the man's strength. He waved his free hand off to the side and tried to quietly wipe away his tears. That abomination lives over there, on the outskirts. Her grandmother was a witch, but she died 20 years ago. We were glad that all her offspring left the village. But no, one snake had to slither back and poison us. We will help you. The man stared at Raphael in disbelief, suddenly gave up the last of his resistance. For some reason, the melancholy Raphael had a positive effect on him. Are you hungry or thirsty? I'm both. Can we please have some water? Wait here. Bring some out. I won't invite you into my house. My wife is very ill. As soon as the man disappeared through the door, Fell turned to Rav. How many graves were there? Plenty, but not all the dates coincide with the arrival of our witch. Her grandmother lived here, no wonder she was made a scapegoat as soon as she returned. If the local belief in witches is passed down from generation to generation, then mass hysterias may also be distinctive characteristic of the locals. So, all the symptoms are just a figment of his imagination. You'd be surprised how much a person can see, hear, feel if they believe in it enough. Psychogenetic symptoms are as real as any other. For example, in Jordan in 1983, the media spread a rumor about mass cases of gas poisoning. Hundreds of people suffered from headaches, stomach cramps, dizziness, nausea. But when some of the patients underwent full examinations, no traces of poison were found. Then, the symptoms began to disappear, even in those who did not undergo the examination. But the children did die. Just imagine the stress someone might be under if she believes that a witch can reach into her womb and kill her child. Here you go. Still holding the rifle in one hand, the man offered them some bottles. Take it. Thank you. So the man raised his gun. Audrey didn't even get the chance to realize what was happening before Cassiel's broad back appeared in front of her. There's your witch. Go talk to her yourselves. I won't let her come close to the house. A frail-looking woman had been walking towards them, but stopped when she noticed the gun. Go back to your wife. The man slowly backed away and disappeared into the darkness of his own house. It's a good thing he didn't trip and accidentally blow his brains out. He would have blamed it on the witch later, too. The woman waved at them uncertainly and began to rub her fingers, looking around anxiously. She didn't dare come closer. They've really scared her, the poor thing. You're, Rada, aren't you? The woman acted as though she could run away at any moment. Yes, thank you for coming. Despite what that man tells you, I am not guilty of anything. We know. I have one question for you. Why go back to a place where they want to hurt you? Because of Pavel, my grandmother. Her frightened eyes filled with tears. She was so wonderful, you know. She always helped people, and it backfired on her. What do you mean? She loved nature too much. She knew the name of every plant and would wander through the forest for hours. Is that why people call her a witch? Silent Grove is a very devout place, but in the beginning the residents would come to us for medicinal herbs. And then at some point, people started getting sick, and everyone decided that Pavel had to be a witch. Do you think she was killed? I don't know. I was still a child when we left. Mom woke me up in the middle of the night and said the grandma would join us later. So why did you decide to return? After my mom died, Pavel started coming to me in dreams. I see her every night. I suspect that Mom saw her in her dreams, too. Does your grandmother speak to you in those dreams? No. She howls. Howls? Yes, as if in pain. She just howls. I feel like I have to find her and give her a proper burial. She spent so many years trying to figure out what happened to her, and her imagination painted a terrible picture. You feel guilty. You feel like you abandoned your grandmother. I suspect that you blamed your mother for that, and when she died, you shifted the blame to yourself. But this is not your burden, Rada. I'm sure your mother had her reasons for doing what she did. And if you were in danger, your grandmother herself would not let you stay. I have to find the remains. They're the key to everything. The dead won't come back, Rada, because they don't go anywhere. They are always with you, in your heart. You need to learn to live with them, not find a way to get rid of them. Pursing her lips, Rada remained silent. Audrey turned to her companions and noticed that Cassiel was giving her a strange look. I'm not punishing myself. I'm not crazy. You return to a place where everyone is trying to kill you. That looks like punishment to me. He's on my side. Incredible. Please help me find her. Oh, I was just to find remains that are around 2 decades old. You think the cemetery would be the obvious choice, so maybe she really did leave. Could she have followed you, like your mother said? I would like to think so, but I don't think she could just abandon us. She would have found a way to contact us after all those years. My grandmother's somewhere out here all alone. I could feel her. She's talking about her like she's alive. This isn't good. Have you ever seen the symbol? Cassiel handed her a picture of a brand, redrawn and copied from a corpse. Maybe it was carved on a tree, painted on a wall somewhere, or in a church. Frowning, she shook her head. No, in this place you can only wear a cross. Why do you ask? Ignoring the question, Cassiel turned to Fel. Your move. Is that it? Can't Raphael at least hold their Bible in his hands? There are no traces here. I checked. Look for bones, Fel. We have until sunset. No matter how your grandmother died, finding her remains will be extremely difficult. She could be buried under the floorboards of any basement or in any garden. We don't have the grounds to break into houses and search every barn. Rada rapidly turned pale and began to tremble. Who talks to people like that? She's gonna have a breakdown. The answer to the question seems to be right in front of us, but I don't see it. Think out loud. Rada, did your grandmother have many enemies? Are you kidding? The whole village hated her. But you said that your grandmother's hobby was treated normally at first. Think back to the time when everything was good. When your grandmother walked through the forest, brought home plants, and told you about her medicinal properties. Immersed in the pleasant memories, Rada stopped trembling and a faint hint of a smile appeared on her face. It was such a wonderful time. Back then, we believed that everything would be all right. Mom got a job at the new factory. She even managed to get in advance. She was so happy. She said that she could support us without the help of my father, who didn't even want to know about me. And then people started getting sick, and our fragile happiness collapsed. Mom was immediately fired, and we struggled to make ends meet again. Your mother was fired because of your grandmother? The director of the factory turned out to be the most outspoken witch hunter. A witch hunter? He shouted the loudest that my grandmother was conducting rituals on his property. That he caught her doing strange things so many times. But she just went to his forest, even though my mother asked her time and time again to go and collect her plants elsewhere. This could be interesting. I think we should talk to him. Makes sense. Start with the first person to make the accusation. Great. Audrey, sounds like a good chance to get out of here before sundown. Wow, you can be useful sometimes instead of just causing problems. Where can we find this director? The factory hasn't been producing as much as it used to for a while now, but it's still operational. Though the area has been sealed off. That's no problem. We'll open it. Show us the way. Ah, the beautiful woods. In the afternoon, The sun's heat became merciless. The men gallantly offered their water bottles to the women, and Audrey did not object. Yep, this is very different to sitting in an office. I hope it won't take us long to find the factory owner. How much further? Fell didn't look tired, but it was obvious she wanted to get this over as soon as possible. If I remember correctly, we are about halfway there. Only half. Audrey wouldn't call herself an athlete, but she always figured she could handle a long trek through the woods. Beautiful, isn't it? I'm completely exhausted. How is that possible? The backs of Freda and Fell were getting further and further away. The women were animately discussing something, and Raphael joined the conversation. I can't lag behind. What? A security post loomed ahead, from which a tall man emerged. Looks friendly enough. Cassiel suddenly put an arm out, causing Audrey to bump into it. Stay here. He may be armed. As if. Are you that eager to get shot? Unless you start talking, he might not be inclined to shoot us at all. Negotiation isn't your strong suit. He fell silent as he tried to come up with a witty response, but his thoughts were interrupted by Fell's shout. Why'd you guys stop? Alright, let's go. Just stay behind me. That's why Mikhail hired you, after all, to better understand what's going on in people's heads. The elderly man waited for the guest to approach before speaking in a confused voice. You do realize that you're trespassing on private property? Yes, we know. We're looking for the owner of the factory. You found him. Otto Vines. How can I help you? We're looking for a woman named Bavol. She lived here about 20 years ago. Bavol? I don't think I know that name. Really? Bavol's granddaughter thinks otherwise. Granddaughter? Otto looked at Rana and shrugged. I'm old enough to forget where my shoes are, you know. You expect me to remember people's names. You accused this woman of witchcraft, fired her daughter, and then persecuted her entire family. Maybe that will help jog your memory. The man smiled and spread his arms. Well, we did have one witch, but she left a long time ago. Your eyes and the smile are creepy as shit to me. I don't like you already. That is the way of our village. If I'm to blame, then no more than anyone else. He seems talkative enough if we ask him the right questions. Ask about the factory, since it's the only one with icon, and we'll see. If I may ask, what do you produce? I'm in the chemical industry. We used to produce on a huge scale, but now things are going very poorly. So poorly that you have to man the guardhouse yourself. The smile grew wider and more unnatural. No, I have a guard. Are you replacing him? I'm greeting my guests. Very curious. You know, if that really is Bavol's granddaughter, I wouldn't bother with her if I were you. As you stand next to her, she's sapping you of your strength. Don't you feel it? I wouldn't be surprised if she's not the granddaughter, but of Bavol herself, rejuvenated from bathing in the blood of infants. What a load of nonsense. So you don't know what happened to her? I'm telling you, she moved away. The locals believe she died. Well, maybe that's what they want to believe, but do witches die so easily? Did you see her leave? I'll be honest, I didn't see her off. Audrey felt like the trees above them were closing in. It's like the forest is leaning in to listen to our conversation. Audrey looked up and was surprised to see the thick branches were slowly spinning. We would like to see places Bavol frequented. Do you have a warrant? if I wish to pass, will you be able to stop me? The smile disappeared from the man's face. You won't get far. I'll get you your warrant. And very soon. You can wait for us at the booth. Audrey closed her eyes and tried to concentrate. I can't be as suggestible as the people in the damn village. I'm fine. Audrey took a slow breath and followed the others deeper into the forest. He's hiding something, isn't he? Of course he is. He pretends to be an old man suffering from memory issues while he runs a factory, as if the locals would report what is going on in the village to an old, senile old man. Do they report to him? Clearly, that's why he went out and greeted everyone. How else would he know that we were coming to visit? Are we going to get a warrant now? Of course not. Frustrated, Fell kicked a nearby pebble and pursed her lips. Rhoda, can you show us the places your grandmother visited most often? I think so. She loved to collect plants from the stream next to the factory and the old elm tree. And then I suggest we split up. Are you sure that's a good idea? We don't have any other options. Rhoda carefully examined her companions with almost appraising eye. Phil, you're an officer, aren't you? Can I come with you? Okay, you'll come with me to the stream. Audrey will go with the guys to the elm tree. Is it far? Not really. Go right, go around the auto, and then after about 600 feet, go straight. You will eventually see the metal fence connecting to a concrete one. You can't miss it. The tree is right behind it. Without saying goodbye, Fell followed Rhoda into the thick bushes. The men were in no hurry to leave. After exchanging glances, they stared at their ashen-faced colleague. Are you sure you're okay? Swallowing, Audrey placed a trembling hand on her forehead. I'm alright, just a little overheated. Unbelievable. Do you need to be protected from the sun as well? Protect me from your comments instead. They only make me feel worse. Really? Really starting to hate my neighbors. Anyway, regretting showing any weakness at all, Audrey pursed her lips and walked past Cassiel. Let's go. But she couldn't get past Raphael, who stopped her and took her hand. Let me examine you. Should I let him do it? Jesus Christ. Fine. 71 diamonds. Okay. He was always so gentle, suddenly lifted her face by the chin without embarrassment. He leaned in so close that for a moment Audrey was afraid he was going to kiss her, but he just looked carefully into her eyes. They're so green. She felt like the world was floating around her as she fell on the soft grass. She wanted to bury herself deeper in it, to stop this dizziness, to hide in the embrace of his soft, caring hands. Without breaking eye contact, he discreetly caressed her chin. She closed her eyes, lifted her chin higher, baring her neck like a cat. Thin fingers slid towards her carotid artery and pressed down gently. Her heartbeat quickened. If all doctors were like this, I'd be more excited about checkups. Counting the beats, Audrey begged her pulse to slow down, to let the soft touch linger on her skin. She felt that even if her heart stopped now, she wouldn't mind. Very strange thoughts began to creep into her head. She wanted to cover his hand with her own, to touch his face and let her hands run free. It was simply unbearable to keep them still. My neck was never been squeezed so gently. Audrey couldn't help but think of the feeling that Raphael was bottling up inside. The reserve. People like that tend to explode. The man's character aroused a passionate interest in her. She really wanted to find the limits and see what happened when Raphael crossed them. He must have a lot of passion. Anger, God knows what other interesting emotions. Without meaning to, Audrey imagined his fingers squeezing her neck in a completely different way. In that severe, lonely room of yours, an explosion of feelings surrounded by those dull walls. I wonder how you'll write about this in your journal later. Your pupils are dilated. Your pulse is racing. You don't say. He eased the pressure, but did not remove his hand. Instead, he put his thumb on her chin. Are you feeling dizzy? A little bit. He carefully tucked a stray strand of her hair behind her ear, placed a cool palm on her forehead. You seem to have a fever. Is there any ringing in your ears? This whisper seemed to drown out all the sounds. I can only hear you. No, nothing like that. Maybe she really did overheat in the sun. The allure of the moment was interrupted by a grumpy voice. It's hard for Raphael to tear himself away from you. Raphael, stop pretending to be doctor. I can see from here that she's not dying. There's no need to fawn over her. Tearing her gaze away from Raphael, Audrey recoiled in embarrassment. It's not like I did anything wrong, though. Cassiel shot a glare at him, but that didn't bother the appraiser at all. It's not like she's feeling well. I'll walk her to the car. I can do that myself. Ignoring the counter offer, Cassiel turned to Audrey. Do you want me to take you to the car? There was no discontent or anger in his voice. Instead, there was something like painful melancholy. Feeling awkward, Audrey rushed to defuse the situation. No need to take me anywhere, I'm fine. Let's move. The sun will be setting soon. Raphael walked beside Audrey. He didn't ask her any more questions or give her any worried looks, for which she was very grateful. I don't want to be dead weight to the team. Hey look, barrels! To a guy who owns a chemical factory. The closer they got to the factory, the bleaker the forest around them became. Every now and then, Audrey saw the factory workers' trash all around them. Some plastic wrappers, barrels of waste. No wonder there are no animals in this forest. At some point, she realized that she was actually starting to feel a little better. Her strength had almost completely recovered. I started to feel better right after Rada left. It was ridiculous to even think about, but the thoughts came into her head without regard for logic or reason. Is she an energy vampire? But she didn't even come close to overstepping my boundaries. We haven't even really interacted. Hate to tell you this, but yeah, no, they can do it from a distance. They can do it through a house. Hate to tell you this. Hey look, the concrete wall. Lost in thought, Audrey did not notice that they had reached the concrete fence. It wasn't the highest fence in the world, but at the moment, it felt insurmountable. Why wasn't there a minimum fitness requirement in the job listing? Don't worry, we'll help you out. It's good that the fence is just made of concrete and has no additional security measures. Although that does raise questions about its usefulness. It doesn't look too tall. Maybe if we find some kind of log I could climb over? We could roll a barrel over. Or we could just stop wasting time and I could just lift her. Just lift her? Oh my god. To be lifted over a fence. Cassio grabbed the edge of the fence and slowly pulled himself up. His already impressive muscles tense, stretching the fabric of his shirt. Unlike Raphael, who climbed over the fence quickly and easily, all of Cassio's movements were deliberately leisurely. It allowed her to thoroughly admire the muscles of his beautiful body. Is he showing off? Are you coming? He held out his hand impatiently and sat down on the edge of the fence. Yes, I'm on my way. She snapped out of it and approached him, trying to figure out what she was supposed to do. But the man literally took matters into his own hands. The moment Cassio leaned over, Audrey stood on her toes. He buried his nose in her neck, and Audrey wrapped her arms around him. She clung to him, not sure that she could lift her so easily. Now this is a tight hug. And then in an instant, she found herself next to him. Audrey stared at him in fascination. She waited for him to let go of her waist, but she was in no hurry to take her hands off him either. You're very strong. I know. That's not a compliment to me. You're unlikely to get a different one from me. I like how he rolled his eyes. Audrey loosened her grip, but she didn't dare to let go of her gloomy source of support. Without breaking physical contact, she ran her fingers along the collar of his shirt. She placed her hands on his broad shoulders, as she felt his muscles tense. How much time does he spend in the gym? The shapes beneath the shirt only fueled her imagination. It's so unfair for someone with a body like this to be so grumpy. It's so hard to resist accidentally placing my hands on his chest. Are you holding on? Yes, are you? Ignoring her question, he cast an equally interesting glance over her figure. From the outside, we probably look like a couple of love-struck teenagers. Do you find this situation amusing? A little? What should I do next? Get your legs over to the other side. Hold on tighter to the fence. Letting go of the man's shoulders, Audrey carefully pulled herself up. Gaziel waited patiently for her to turn around as he held her by the forearms. With his strength, he could probably just throw me over it. I should stop smiling so much, or I'll have steam coming out of my ears soon. After making sure that Audrey was sitting upright and wouldn't fall, Gaziel jumped softly to the ground. He held out his arms, waiting expectantly. Should I just jump? Yes, I'll catch you. Looking sideways at Raphael, Audrey began to giggle. Cassiel was a hard time admitting it, but he loves overcoming obstacles with you. They probably have to take a special course in Astrea where they learn how to catch falling people. However, seeing Raphael's sad face made her stop for some reason. I wonder what he's thinking about. That this is our moment, now it's happening with Cassiel. As if to encourage her, Raphael smiled. And as if to say that there was nothing wrong with this. Then his weak smile faded in his usual melancholy, and Raphael looked away. Oh my god, Audrey, how long do I have to wait? Knowing exactly what the strong young man was capable of, Audrey jumped without fear. He caught her almost immediately and carefully set her down on the ground. It was hard not to draw a parallel between Raphael and Cassiel. I managed to be in both their arms. Raphael's hands were gentle, unlike their owner. They held back both strength and his desires. In Cassiel's arms, Audrey felt like a fragile figurine that he could accidentally break. Once on the other side, Audrey dusted herself off and looked around. A tall, dead elm immediately caught her eye. It stood alone among the other trees. Its bare branches stretched chaotically towards the sky as if in agony. From the side, it looked like round snakes were wrapped around the trunk. What a creepy-looking tree. The dizziness returned, this time with a bout of nausea. For some reason, she didn't want to approach the tree. What an impressive aura, huh? Cassiel walked silently to the elm and crouched over the widest hollow. Audrey watched her colleagues from afar. She tried to calm down her pounding heart. What's wrong with me? A panic attack overcame her, and she found it hard to breathe. Did you find something? Her voice trembled treacherously, but neither of them paid attention to that. They stared into the hollow, fascinated. Yes. There are bones here. Or rather, what is left of them. They were badly burned. Unsure what exactly was making her feel sick, Audrey closed her eyes. It'll pass any minute now, any minute. Audrey really did forget about how ill she felt, as if someone's hand wrapped around her neck. Some choices have a time limit, think fast. call out for the guys. A pitiful squeak escaped her throat, but it was enough to make them turn around. Oh, mother. Why did you have to come here? Cassiel moved forward menacingly, but stopped as the cold metal pressed against Audrey's temple. For a village where everyone believes so strongly in God, the locals sure have a lot of weapons. Cassiel looked questioningly at Raphael. Should I use force? No need. Don't scare him. What force, dumbass? One more step and I'll shoot. Otto, I understand that we are trespassing on your property, but we're not trying to convict you and put you in jail. You don't have enough cells to hold all the guilty. So you found the bones, huh? We did. Listen. Shut your mouth. Where are the other women? They are waiting for a warrant. Then let them wait. In the meantime, we'll go on ahead. Meet up with them in the bar. Alright, guys? Otto finally released her neck, and the barrel of the gun moved from her temple to just beneath her shoulder blades. Go ahead, boys. The girl and I will be right behind you. Cassiel hid his rage poorly. He clenched and unclenched his fists, not moving from where he stood. If you don't let her go, I'll tear every limb from your body. If he doesn't shut up, Otto will definitely shoot me. Cassiel, just do what he says. Don't be afraid, Audrey. This idiot is only one who should be scared here. That's reassuring. Audrey took a step forward and barely managed to stay on her feet. The ground began to swim out from under her with a new force. Well, why'd you stop? One moment. Not feeling too good, huh? Shouldn't have involved with the witch's spawn. That is nonsense. You killed an ordinary woman, not a witch. I didn't kill anyone. I just told you what I saw. It was the locals who caught her by the elm tree and burned her. And you let them do it? Witch should be burned at the stake. Everyone knows that. You shouldn't have bothered me. He doesn't look like a fanatic. He looks like a cunning businessman with no morals. If you didn't kill her, why did you point a gun at me? Trying to protect your neighbors? Without answering, Otto turned the gun on Raphael. Walk. Alright. We're going. Cassiel peered thoughtfully into the thick bushes without moving. Right, because this is clearly the perfect time to be admiring the scenery. Why is he looking there? Is he expecting to see Fell? Bushes moved, and a broad black snout emerged from the granary. Immediately forgetting about her, Otto jumped to the side. Where did he come from? Audrey froze, tried not to breathe. I think I'm dreaming. Witches, fanatics, wolves. What's next? Is a flying saucer gonna fall on me? The wolf growled menacingly. Don't be afraid, Audrey. How are you not scared? His attempt to calm her down in this situation felt completely ridiculous. Audrey couldn't even tell what frightened her more. Her sudden sickness, Otto with his gun, or the giant wolf. You brought him with you? We don't even have squirrels in the forest. Where did the wolf come from? Otto slowly backed away, ready to shoot the animal. Tell him to stand back or I'll shoot. Frozen in horror, Audrey turned to the man while almost so barely moving her head. Cassiel looked the wolf straight in the eyes, and the wolf carefully peered back at him. Raphael was completely relaxed, casually watching Otto's pathetic attempt to retreat. What the hell is going on? Audrey could have sworn that Cassiel nodded slightly as a shot rang out behind her. The wolf pinned Otto to the ground in one leap, bearing his fangs in his hand. Audrey didn't even try to figure out where the bullet went. As she watched the wolf tear at the man's flesh, she seemed to forget even her own name. Only the wild screams, blood, and agony felt real. Am I losing it? This isn't real. Yes, this isn't real. This is really happening. My senses can't be deceiving me this much. And once he's done with Otto, this wolf will turn on us. No, that's why you stay calm. Audrey tried to approach her colleagues, but she couldn't move an inch. Fortunately, there was no need for that. Raphael and Cassio appeared on either side of her. But Audrey didn't have time to be relieved of the presence. The wolf released the poor man and slowly raised his bloody snout. Now it's our turn. Otto lay unconscious. His entire arm was torn from his wrist to his shoulder. If this is a dream, I'd really like to wake up. Cassio crouched down and reached out. What are you doing? Thanks, buddy. Cassio's voice sounded unusually gentle, as if he was facing a frightening puppy instead of a wild predator. Audrey shrieked as the wolf slowly approached them. Don't be afraid, you hear? He won't harm you. He's not hungry. Hold out your hand. Audrey looked at the wolf in confusion, then Cassio. She was unable to utter a word. Am I the only one who sees the blood on his face? He almost ate that jerk. But the wolf was completely calm, as though he hadn't just been tearing a man to shreds mere seconds ago. I'd have to be crazy as him, or Cassio to reach out to him. But the wolf buried his nose in Cassio's hand like an ordinary dog, smearing human blood across his palm. He pulled away and looked at Audrey with curiosity. Holy shit! 149! Oh my god, please help. Okay, 149, here we go. For a wolf. Audrey couldn't believe she was actually doing this. Neither can I. Her hands were shaking so much that she felt awkward. He saved me. There was no longer even a hint of aggression in the beast's eyes. If he wanted to eat me, he would have done so by now. Tactfully, as if sensing her fear, the wolf touched her fingertips with his cold snout, and then retreated. But the beast was in no hurry to leave. He stood across from Audrey and pricked up his ears. Sorry, I have nothing to give you. Trying not to think about why he wasn't hungry, Audrey held out her hand to him again. At first, she just wanted to show him that she had nothing edible on her, but the wolf obediently put his head against her palm, like a regular dog. Her hand touched the soft fur between his ears. I'm so confused by what's going on right now. Also 149 diamonds, holy shit. Hey, at least she's wearing the right outfit this time. I'm just saying. Audrey stroked him, watching carefully for any change in the beast's mood, but he obviously enjoyed the attention. He narrowed his eyes and leaned lower, moving his face to the side to expose the right spots to her fingers. Thank you. Wolf looked up at her, demonstrating that it was no big deal. He'll remember your sin, and he'll find you if he wants to. I'm pretty sure I won't forget anything about today for as long as I live. And I would never be able to put any of this out of my mind, no matter how hard I try. Wolf sniffed the air and took one last look at Cassio before disappearing into the bushes. The wolf remembered you. Yeah, okay. Otto groaned softly. Audrey looked at what was left of his arm, slowly sank to the grass. We need to call an ambulance. Do we, though? Someone's phone rang, but Audrey couldn't tell who it belonged to. She could only make out parts of what Raphael was saying over the overwhelming ringing in her ears. Cassio picked up the gun and approached Otto, probably assessing his chances of survival. It seems like I was getting by on just adrenaline for the last few minutes. Bad news. Fell found out why Otto was so afraid to let us on the property. Audrey wanted to remind them of the bones in the hollow, but she couldn't. She felt as if she would vomit if she opened her mouth. Her stomach churned and painful throbbing added to the ringing in her ears. He was dumping chemical waste into the river. All the water in the village is poisoned. Poisoned. Relieved that she hadn't been cursed by a witch, Audrey closed her eyes and lay down. Of course, Ephraim bavels that the villagers wouldn't poke around looking for answers. He's been poisoning them for so many years. Audrey, can you hear me? To be honest, I think I'm gonna pass out. Audrey wasn't sure if she had time to say it out loud or not. The excruciating, difficult day finally came to an end, and a comforting darkness enveloped her. 149 diamonds. I can't. Woo! God damn, you people are the most expensive app I've ever played in my entire existence. I'm just saying. Ah. 3 to faith, 1 to skepticism, 3 to reputation. Yeah, I kind of need those diamonds, so hold on. Alright, I just had to check. I got my diamonds. So pretty much episode 5 is up next. Whew, man, I have drained in just 2 chapters, or may I say episodes of this book. I've drained nearly 500 diamonds. I just want you to think about that. Oh, man. That's a lot of diamonds. I'm just going to say there's a lot of diamonds. So please, if you did enjoy the content, like, share, and subscribe. Head down the description. Plenty of ways to support. Please consider it. Because wow, that's a lot of diamonds. I'm gonna be honest with you. That for 2 episodes was nearly $40. Oh, cool. Listen, and we're not even doing this during the free events. Right? They run like free events like twice a month, right? I'm not even doing this during free events. Whew! I'm just saying, and usually like right after like they do an update on the app, right? They'll wait like 2 or so weeks before they start doing the free updates again, right? Or the free events, right? Man, oh man. I know y'all gotta make money, but damn. You're breaking my bank. I'm serious, you're breaking it. And that's the best value. Think about that. So 540 is $40. That. So again, if you appreciate my content, you know what to do. Thanks again for watching. Catch y'all later. And wow, what a super long episode too. But woof.